Hi guys, I'm excited that we've reached 3.4, so welcome. This is hacking the newsfeed algorithm. So by hacking, I mean optimizing our content and actions based on the factors that we know are in the newsfeed algorithm in order to optimize the placement of our edges in our Facebook fans' news feeds and therefore get more engagement and more exposure for every single status update that we make. So the following strategies that I've put together are optimized to hack multiple newsfeed algorithm components at the same time. So 3.3, the last segment, was to get an understanding of the newsfeed algorithm components. If you don't have a strong understanding of these components, it'd be great if you could watch that again so you know what I'm referring to when I talk about them in this segment. If you already do have a strong understanding, let's check out our strategies to hack these algorithm components. So here are the components on the left. They should look familiar. Time decay, weight, affinity, last actor, story bumping, and global interactions. Up the top here are our strategies. There's seven of them which I'm going to go through. So posting at optimal time, optimizing your edge type, encourage your interaction on your post, space your edges, strong edge anchoring, being active, and having great content are all really important strategies to employ to ensure your content gets the most engagement and most exposure possible. Let's break them down one by one. So optimal time, or posting at an optimal time, will optimize for the time decay, the last actor, and the global interaction factors of your update. So to hack the time decay, we want to make sure we post all edges at optimal times. This is generally when most people are actually online, so that your content can be seen by more people before the time decay becomes too strong and people don't see your update because it was posted too long ago and is now competing with all this new and fresh content. It's actually really fascinating how quick time decay affects your status update on average. So this is an average and it'll be unique for every update. So in the first 20 minutes after posting your edge will be seen by 45% of the total amount of people that will see this edge. For example, if you post an edge that 1,000 people will end up seeing, 45% of them on average, or 450, will see this edge within the first 20 minutes. Within the next 20 minutes, so a total of 40 minutes, another 30% will see it, and almost another 15 within the next 20 minutes after that. Therefore, 1 hour after posting your edge, more than 90% of people on average will have seen it, and only 10% of people are left to see it. I hope that makes sense. So that posting at the optimal time, therefore, is very important, and eventually you'll find the exact optimal times to post for your page using insights, because every page will be different. But because our Facebook page is new and we don't have insights that will help us yet, let's have a look at the general guidelines for posting. The general best times are as follows: 7 a.m. when your fans are waking up, 1 p.m. when your fans are generally on lunch break and checking into Facebook, 5 p.m. which will be coming home from work or getting out of work, logging off their computers, and 9 p.m. winding down at the end of the day, going to bed, or just relaxing. Also, there is a lot of conflicting data based on what day is best to post on. I'm going to be suggesting you post every day, but the most important updates I would post generally towards the end of the week. This is when I personally, and a lot of other research, points to getting more engagement and attention. Here's an interesting strategy to consider as well. It's very important to consider edge competition, because the more pages that post at the same time means the more competition there is for visibility of your edge. As you can remember, there are up to 1,500 or more stories available to be seen in everyone's newsfeed at once. At a peak time, this number will increase, and off-peak, obviously, this number will decrease. Therefore, if you are posting at optimal times, you have more competition to compete for the top 40 spots. So try experimenting by posting your ads just before peak time. This is when I find it the most beneficial. So what this does is it allows time to build momentum for your status and have a high global interaction before peak time and peak competition occurs. Here's a graph. Here's the peak time here at 9 a.m. I normally log in about, this hour is probably too early, about 8:15, maybe 8:30, and post in here as the competition is getting higher. Sneak in there, get your global interactions and your momentum up so that when 9 a.m. or 9:30 occurs, you have very strong score and will appear most likely in the top 40 edges on a significant amount of your fans' news feeds. So you also want to make sure you're optimizing your edge type in order to take advantage of the time decay, the weight, and the affinity factors. So each type of content has a different purpose, and they even have a different visibility ranking based on each individual user, as we went through in 3.3. So just to refresh, a status with a link is on the left and a text status is on the right. Let's have a look at some data and some stats to help optimize your content. So a status versus status with a link is displayed below. It was found that a status with a link receives 153% more likes, 204% more comments, and 184% more shares. So if you put a link with your status, you're going to get more interaction on average. Another thing to consider with status updates is the shorter the text, generally the higher interaction. As you can see here, a 250 character update gets 160% of the interaction of a 400 character update. This data is comparing a status versus a photo versus an album. So status is the baseline. A photo on average gets 120% more interaction, and an album surprisingly gets 180% more interaction than the status and the photo. However, don't take these stats on face value and ensure that you're posting a variety of content to cater for individual weights of all of your fans and also the device preferences and the content that they're more likely to show. Encourage interaction is a really important strategy to employ, and I do it all the time, and it is very, very beneficial for increasing my exposure and increasing the engagement on every post. It'll optimize for your affinity, your last actor, your story bumping, and your global interactions. So using call to actions, questions, and engaging content to stimulate conversation and interaction on your edge updates will ultimately get you more views. I'm actually going to focus the entire next segment on how to have the most engaging updates possible, including covering all of these things highlighted in orange. So I'm not going to go too deep into it now, but just realize that more interaction equals more views. And again, more views will equal more interaction, and in return, that'll give you more views. It is a cycle between views and interaction. So using edge spacing is very beneficial in optimizing your affinity and your last actor factors. That rhymes. By logically spacing your updates, it is easier to capitalize on last actor, as you remember, the last 50 actions that a user has made, and further increase your affinity score with each individual fan. So although the average Facebook user makes less than 50 actions every day, if you can space your edges 5 hours apart, the last actor scores will be even stronger than if they were 24 hours apart, because they would be ranked higher up in the last actor rankings. So another way to use this knowledge is fans obviously aren't making actions while they sleep, so it's actually really easy to rank high on last actor scores when you post in the morning if you've had interaction from this user the previous night. Strong edge anchoring is almost a continuation of this strategy. It'll also optimize for affinity, last actor, and your global interactions. Edge anchoring is based around the idea that if somebody interacts once on your update, their affinity score with your page is strongly increased. Therefore, the more likely they are to see your next edge update because they've interacted on your last. If you build enough anchors, which is an interaction with each status, you're going to create a strong relationship and always be seen with this individual user for every update that you post. Another way to use this is to capitalize on strong edges or updates. If you create a strong edge or a status with high interaction that goes relatively viral, either within your fan base or even further than that, extending your reach, always draft of this for higher visibility on your next post. So say you got 500 likes on a status, which is twice what you normally get. You then have very strong affinity and very strong last actor scores for these 500 people. Therefore, if you post another status really close to this first status, those 500 people are almost 100% likely to see this. Being active on your status is huge. It's going to optimize story bumping and global interactions. Let me show you how. So being active on your own status creates activity. It encourages more interaction and more activity on your status, which obviously counts as global interaction and will boost your visibility and engagement of your status. So therefore, you should always like your own status. As you can see here, I'm logged in as my Achieve Greatness account and I've liked my own status. Why? Because it counts towards your global interactions. As you can remember, Facebook testing your status out with sample sizes. Your like and your comments will count towards this initial sample size and therefore be more likely to be seen by more people. You should also like appropriate comments on your status. So somebody here has posted a quote on my status, Andy Bramwell that is, and I've liked that because it increases the engagement and the activity on my status, which increases my global interactions, and therefore my status is shown to more people because Facebook see it more valuable because they have seen high interaction on the status. Another way to improve this is to reply and ask questions to stimulate even more conversation on that same status. So I've replied to Andy Bramwell and I said, "This is great, where is it from?" Andy then, as you can see underneath this reply, goes on to answer the question, again increasing interaction and engagement and popularity of my status, giving it a higher value in Facebook's eyes. And finally, the best strategy of all is great content. Content is absolutely king when it comes to hacking the newsfeed algorithm. It's going to optimize for your weight, your affinity, your last actor, your story bumping, and your global interactions. So put simply, content is king. If you're trying to work around the algorithm, the bottom line is if your content is poor, your engagement will be poor, and so will your visibility. So if you have great content, it will be the opposite of this. You'll have high visibility, high interaction, and it'll go through that views and engagement loop, showing more and more people your update. Here are some questions Facebook asks page owners to consider to find out if their content is great or if their content is poor. So let's have a look at these. Is this timely and relevant content? Is the content from a source that you would trust? Would you share it with your friends or recommend it to others? Is the content genuinely interesting to you, or is it trying to game newsfeed distribution, e.g. asking people to like the content? Would you call this low quality post or meme? Would you complain about seeing this content in your newsfeed? If you answer these questions, you'll find out how good your content is and how much Facebook value your content.